live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Yes, it is a weekend eve edition. Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. It is Friday, June 23rd. We're going to go in depth tonight on the impacts of the families who are searching for their loved ones. Basically, you can call them missing persons. Perhaps some of these cases are now cold. Also, is wildfire season indeed knocking on the door? Before we dive in, here is a look at what's making headlines tonight, right now on KUTV.com. You can see these here on our website. A Holiday family called out on their yard, accused of laziness and unkept. Looks mighty fine to me, but this is no field of weeds. It's actually a beautifully manicured lawn. Go see this story on our website, KUTV.com. The Medicaid Fraud and Patient Abuse Division of the Utah Attorney General's Office has filed multiple charges against 2 former managers of Evergreen Place in Midvale. Investigators found that the Evergreen facility was unlicensed, even though 17 mentally impaired adult men lived at that facility. Also in our headlines tonight, Salt Lake SWAT officers arrested a man accused of assaulting his girlfriend in front of her child. It happened inside of an apartment near 18th West and Independent Boulevard. Also in our headlines, happening tonight, the UDOT project team will shift westbound I-80 travel lanes between 1700 East and 2300 East in Salt Lake City from the median onto new concrete pavement. Quite the project. Drivers can expect uneven pavement and drainage grates in the travel lanes. Might be a good night to slow down. As we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us throughout the show using the hashtag 2NewsLive to join the conversation. Very easy to do. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Send us a direct message, any of those places, to weigh in. Let's go in depth tonight on the topic of wildfire. Plenty of green along the Wasatch Front and other parts of the state, but don't think we're not at a risk of wildfire. Fire experts say conditions all over the state are indeed drying out. They're more flammable than they might look. This warning comes as fireworks stands are prepping for the 4th of July. Paul Nelson live with more tonight. Paul, what are they doing to get ready for fire season? Basically, we are in the traditional fire season right now.
And basically, the danger is already here, is from what people are telling us. Fire officials are saying that, as you were mentioning, things are a lot drier than they might appear. I mean, they say things like, just because it's not green, that doesn't mean that it won't burn. And so they're saying, just be careful of all of the potential danger that's out there, especially the tall grasses. Now, what they're doing, they're gathering up all of the tall grasses that they possibly can, putting them in big piles and then burning those, trying to get rid of the fuels as much as they possibly can. Plus, stuff like this. You have broken branches or fallen branches, or basically even the low-hanging branches that are around trees. They're chopping those off and throwing them into the wood chippers. I have been warned not to throw my stick mic and to throw the branch, so there you go. But they're getting rid of all the fuels that they possibly can so that they can just kind of eliminate as much potential as possible.
Paul, for the sake of our conversation, you can throw whatever you want, but I want to throw this your way. What assessment tool are they recommending people look at to basically check for their risk of their property right now for the potential of wildfire?
There is an online portal that the state has, and they actually look up a whole bunch of data like, say, wind speed, soil moisture, also just the possibility of structures that are nearby coming, lighting up. And they put all of that on an online portal that people can look up called wildfirerisk.utah.gov. And on that website, you can type in your address or basically any property that you have to see if you do live in a high-risk area. Now, there are 2 places on that map that seem to be pretty high risk according to the Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Land. The Wasatch Front, we are at a higher risk up here because of wind and also because of likely fire sources like lightning and humans, because most of the fires along here are human caused. And down in St. George and Cedar City, they're also at a high risk because things are drying out a lot faster in the south than they are up north, which is normal for this time of year.
Paul, thank you very much. We got a quick glimpse of that assessment tool there, and hopefully you can find that, I believe, on our website right now, so you can link there and check it out. Paul Nelson live for us tonight. Paul, as always, thank you very much. Now that it's officially wildfire season, you know, many agencies call it a fire year, so don't really let that fool you. We'll be sure to stay on top of wildfires as they spark, both on air here, 2 News, also KUTV.com, the 2 News mobile app. Right now, 3 interagency hand crews from Utah are working in Canada, 1 in Quebec, 2 in Alberta. We first reported that the Logan Hotshots were the very first to arrive north of the border from the state of Utah just a few weeks ago. They have since returned home back here to Utah. They are preparing for their next assignment. Here are some photos shared with me today. The Uinta Basin Regulars out of the Ashley and Manti La Salle National Forests. They are working in the Alberta region right now, an area with more than 3.5 million acres burned this year alone. Thanks to the Ashley National Forest folks for this photo. The Bureau of Land Management sharing this photo with us of the Northern Utah Regulars as they arrived in Alberta earlier this week. The crew is comprised of BLM Utah, Nevada, and Forest Service personnel. Keep these crews in your thoughts, though. Plenty of the states in the U.S. are also dealing with wildfires and prime conditions. Right now, wildfires are pulling our crews into Michigan, California, Arizona, and New Mexico. They are staying plenty busy. We'll check out some wild video today we got of a tornado touching down in Wyoming. This is the Little America area. When somebody said Little America, I said, man, that's downtown Salt Lake City. That is pretty crazy. Little America is actually between the Fort Bridger and Rock Springs area, very remote area, but very cool rest stop if you're ever heading through. You can see the funnel touching down in southwest Wyoming. Thank you to Danny Patterson, who took this video for us. Chase Thomason out enjoying some sunshine. We are happy to have Trent Parker here. Trent, thanks for being here on 2 News Live. 2 News Live debut. So we gotta break Trent in with a tornado on day one. What do you see here, Trent?
Really excellent shot. Thank you for sending those in. We only get these shots because you guys send them in. It's doing what we call roping out. So it's pretty much at the end of its tornadic life cycle, and it's pulling it up into the really high cloud base because we had some dry humidities down near the lower surfaces all day today, and it's a really phenomenal shot. You can see that funnel coming out of the cloud here, and of course some debris getting kicked up as that circulation touches the ground down there at the surface, Brian.
The National Weather Service obviously will probably at least stare at this.
Mm-hmm.
Would this remote area and severity of this, would this trigger them to go out and look for things?
Yeah, ideally when there is a storm report issued, National Weather Service will respond within the next 24 hours or so to get out there and take a look at some of the damage and try to get a handle on how strong this tornado was and if there was any damage to any infrastructure in the area.
We're told there was a power plant out there, and I think you can actually catch a little infrastructure in the corner of this video. Tough to see here, but regardless, spectacular. We've seen a lot of unique rotation in our sky between Nevada, Utah, and now Wyoming, just over the last month or so.
Yeah, absolutely. The current weather pattern that we're in is kind of conducive for it with those lows off to the west, kicking up some southerly and moist flow. We get these kind of severe storms popping off.
Let's take a look at what's happening here back at home with your forecast.
Absolutely. Yeah, we hit 83 today. That was our official high temperature here in Salt Lake City. Just a couple of degrees shy of normal for where we would be this time of year, and nowhere near record breaking as we saw that back in 2012 on this date at 101 degrees. And we're keeping the triple digits out of your forecast for at least the next 7 days, so no need to worry there. Temperatures across the entire state today got pretty warm, up into the upper 70s and low 80s. Still a little bit chilly for this time of year, especially down there in St. George, where we've only gotten up into the upper 80s before we've had that breeze just really cool things off all across the state. There's our storm system just to the north of our area right now, and it's producing a whole lot of showers across portions of western Wyoming and up into Montana, southeastern Idaho as well. And if we zoom in, we don't really have a whole lot going on here along the Wasatch Front. We have this one little isolated cell moving into the Cache Valley area, but otherwise just some scattered showers out into the Uintas. The west slope of the Uintas is seeing a little bit of a rain shower right now, but not a whole lot of rain is actually falling out of these storms, and that's what's producing those gusty winds at times here along the Wasatch Front. Lows tonight, 40s and 50s across the state, 42 in Evanston, a little bit chilly still, especially out there in Ely. We'll get down to 40 degrees by the time we hit tomorrow morning, and 59 in St. George under clear skies the entire night. And tomorrow we'll warm up a couple degrees more from where we were today. Low 80s here along the Wasatch Front, 70s along the Wasatch back in southwestern Wyoming, and up to 94 there in St. George for your afternoon high tomorrow. Future Track takes us through the rest of the night. It's got a pretty good grasp on what's going on currently, and we will see clearing conditions through about 10 p.m. tonight. Now we roll it through tomorrow, and we could see a couple of high clouds develop, especially across portions of western, west central, and northwestern Utah, and a couple showers possible up there in northeastern Nevada. But for the most part, all these storms are going to stay off to our north, and we're going to be experiencing dry and clear conditions all weekend long. Here are your wind speed forecasts for later tonight. We can still see those winds picking up in portions of eastern Utah, and then all the winds die down overnight tonight as we lose that daytime heating. And then going into tomorrow, we could see some pretty calm winds all across the state. A little bit gusty out there in Ely, but overall a very nice weekend. And if you're headed out to the RSL game, Minnesota's in town. It's going to be in the 70s all night long there on Saturday night down there in Sandy. So make sure you're getting out and enjoying this beautiful weather this weekend, because we'll have 94 tomorrow in St. George, 97 on Sunday. Clear skies lasting through the next 7 days as we get close to 100 by the end of next week. And here in Salt Lake City, pretty similar story, except for we're not going to be experiencing any hundreds anytime soon. 84 tomorrow is your forecasted high, 90 on Sunday. Clear skies through Tuesday, and then we see a little bit of a return of some clouds, upper 80s to near 90 degrees by Friday.
Oh, it's just my son. I need him. I need him back.
A family doing everything in their own power to search for any sign of Aiden Clune. Aiden hasn't been seen for more than a year and was last known to be in a very remote part of eastern Nevada. I spent some time with Aiden's family and others who are continuing to look for him. Why? Because these cases don't get enough coverage. They don't get enough eyes on them, and the families are left feeling like they have to basically do all of this all on their own. Aiden's mother, Amy, vows to not give up looking. It fits the definition of remote.
It is beautiful, but it is the vastness of it. It haunts me.
This is the Cherry Creek mountain range in Elko County, Nevada.
We're looking for Aiden.
Amy Clune and her family have been looking for Aiden Clune.
I talked to him in the early morning of April 27th because he was having trouble going to sleep. And I knew he was in a state, you know, and I just kept begging him to please come home, and I asked him where he was, and he wouldn't tell me.
Her last phone call with her son.
He said, "I just want to hear your voice, Mom." So I told him to please call me. As soon as you wake up, Aiden, please call me.
Aiden didn't respond to any more text messages or phone calls. According to the Elko County Sheriff's Office, Aiden checked out of a hotel room in Wells, Nevada in the early morning hours of April 27th. He drove southbound on US 93 and parked his pickup truck on the shoulder of the road just north of the small town of Curry. Shortly after, a Nevada Highway Patrol trooper found his truck abandoned with no sign of Aiden. How helpful has the local law enforcement here been?
Well, the sheriffs have been great. I mean, they came out and they pulled out all the stops. They had horses, drones. I think they had aerial search.
Despite difficult weather conditions, search and rescue volunteers covered hundreds of miles searching for Aiden. Elko County Sheriff's Office wrote Aiden was tracked on foot for over 10 miles. It's believed Aiden took off his shoes and ran. His tracks in the Cherry Creek Mountains were eroded by rain and snow. More than 1,700 man-hours were spent on the search until it was called off on May 24th.
It is a vast area. I mean, you could have hundreds of people out there and spread out, and they wouldn't be in earshot of each other.
It's been roughly a year and 2 months since Aiden was last seen or heard from.
When I walk around here, I'm just asking Aiden to please guide me to him.
None of Aiden's personal items have been found. No shoes, no socks, no other clothing. When we joined his mother for a small portion of their week-long search in May of this year, their tireless efforts were met with no further clues of Aiden's whereabouts. So why would Aiden leave? And how do families deal with the continued search?
We just keep turning over every single stone with technology, on foot, drones, dogs, everything. You know, you just use every resource that you can.
Amy Clune has been looking for her son Aiden. Since his footsteps and tracks in the Cherry Creek mountain range were washed away by rain and snow in May of last year.
We have a good idea of where he last was, and even though we kind of know that it's still a vast area.
It's still unclear exactly why Aiden left his truck on the side of the road in late April 2022 and took off into the remote mountain range.
You know, he was suffering from a primary psychosis. He had had issues with depression. He had seen therapists. And then the pandemic happened, and that just made him spiral.
Search and rescue crews called off the search after scouring the area for weeks. At what point did you realize this is going to be on you and your family to finish this search?
Well, not too shortly after Elko got done searching.
Amy isn't giving up hope.
We provided scent dogs and tracked a trail further past where the law enforcement had passed, and then we got snowed out, so we had to quit.
Bill Dosey and his company Find 911 out of Wyoming helps families to try and find loved ones. He does this with decades of law enforcement experience and helps families in need after going through a family tragedy of his own.
It's tough. It's tough to talk with them, talk them through it, and talk through scenarios. It's heartbreaking. My heart goes out to everybody that we go do a job for.
There's a dramatic physical and mental impact on families who continue to look for their loved ones after law enforcement calls off a search.
And I'll tell you, the families, when something happens, they don't just wait for the police. They do what they can do, and they try to get things going.
Francine Bardol worked missing persons and cold cases for years. Families want answers, but Francine knows it's just not that easy.
They feel like they've been forgotten. They feel like nobody cares. And I really think an attention needs to be given to these families.
I think that we're having a mental health crisis in this nation, and people need to wake up to that.
However, Amy knows her son was going through challenges.
We need a national coalition for missing persons. There needs to be some cohesion there so that we can collaborate and figure out how to find people faster. There's a lot of new technology.
While searching for Aiden, Amy has hope for other families coping with the same pain.
Just love your kids and pay attention to them, and do everything in your power to get them help.
Tomorrow night on 2 News at 10, another example from right here in Utah where a missing persons case has seemingly gone cold. Another family wanting answers and a glimmer of hope, and the challenges that law enforcement faces on these specific cases. Brian Schnee, KUTV 2 News.
This is the worst nightmare any parent could possibly imagine. You just can't fathom how it feels when somebody goes missing and then they can't be found.
Yeah.
Hours and hours of organizing, planning, and searching with volunteers.
So we're looking for him. We're trying to track him to find him and bring him home, and lay him to rest and to have peace in our family. I'm not going to have peace until I find him. It's
been more than a year for a family looking for Aiden Clune in remote Elko County, Nevada.
I just want to have closure for his kids.
Meanwhile, in the far southwest corner of Utah, another family going through a similar challenge.
The last time he was seen was April 15th of 2022. I seen him probably a month before that, personally.
Kathy and Mary feel stuck, looking for their brother, Jamie Holyoke. And is there hope that Jamie is still out there and alive at this point?
No, we've been told that he has been, he's been beaten up really badly and that he's dead.
Now, Amy feels that the Elko County Sheriff's Office did everything they could to look for Aiden, especially early on. Kathy and Mary don't feel the same way.
It's been amazing how badly we've been treated through this. And it's been confusing because all we're doing is looking for my brother. We don't want to cause problems. We don't want anything. We don't care about all that. All we care about is finding my brother and having closure and moving on.
Francine Bardol, who worked cold cases and missing persons cases while in law enforcement for decades, says that each department is different when handling these cases. But they want to close the case.
They do. They really want to solve it. But don't forget, you have newer cases, and you have older cases, and you have X amount of officers, and you have X amount of technology.
Regardless, Bardol doesn't want ego to get in the way of law enforcement communicating with families on these delicate situations, but admits the communication often just isn't there.
And I think in these remote places, they really just don't get the funding and all this other stuff that they need. And it's not because they're not good at what they do, they just don't have all the resources they need. They just don't.
When it comes to Jamie, the family feels something criminal likely took place.
Thought of him just being out there somewhere, been tossed away like trash, it's horrifying. He wasn't trash. We want to be able to have have him buried somewhere where we know he's, I don't know, where's it sounds that he's safe and home.
Yeah. And while Amy believes it could be different circumstances for her son, she wants the same closure.
What I would really like to share is the fact that we know little about what this does to families. We hear that they lost somebody, we hear that they've grieved, and we hear all this other stuff, but we never really know all the day-to-day trivial, terrible things that they go through that you may not think is big.
Aiden Clune and Jamie Holyoke are still missing. We've reached out to both the Elko County Sheriff's Office and the San Juan County Sheriff's Office. No update on either of these cases. If you have any information on these cases or you'd like to learn more, we have a number of articles right now on our website, KUTV.com. Thanks for watching 2 News Live on this fine Friday edition. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Forecast looks great from Trent. We're back next week with another edition here on Monday of 2 News Live. Take care.